First of all, I think your analysis was very straight line. History doesn't run in a straight line.
Kid, you cannot tell your neighbor he is stealing ducks when you are stealing funds.
As High Commissioner, I was wrong. As Charandas Prasad, I reacted naturally how any person would have.
I did not come here for that kind of abuse. I did not come here for that kind of abuse. If you're going to go down that road, I'll walk off.
But it's all okay once they're talking. If they were talking, I could not have been here today.
You got ADHD.
I ain't got nothing.
No, calm down.
I think I've done enough in terms of taking our team out of trouble from losing.
Come on, Lou Taylor. That's good. I'm reading the script now, and the first person that comes to my mind to play a detective,
Yes,
but
okay,
an
he's good.
erratic
Mikhail
detective is Mikhail Rodriguez.
Why an African slap an Indian? Why a man and slap a woman? Look, girl, how you deal with that? You deal with that.
We must encourage platforms like this because it brings together different people and allows for discussions to take place in our country on a multiplicity of fundamental issues.
Kingdom, you apologizing for something you think I did is wrong. I don't want you to do that, and you should not have done that. Hello there, wherever you are. Good evening, good night, good morning, good afternoon. We're broadcasting live from Guyana in our studio in Queenstown. This is the Freddie Kissoon Show with co-host Akash Persaud. Akash couldn't make it. We will not let the Palestinian issue of genocide committed by the Hitlerite government in Israel, we will not let it go unnoticed. Once this program is alive, we will not let it die. The committal of genocide by the Hitlerite state in Israel is one of history's most tragic occurrences, and we perhaps have done 6 or 7 programs, and we will continue to do it. This evening we are looking once more at the tragedy of genocide being committed by the Israeli state against the Palestinian people. It started in October and it's going on 8 months now. In our studio this evening are Islamic scholars, Islamic experts, Islamic religious personalities that have been in the studio before and have given our viewers their views on the Palestinian issue, the Gaza tragedy. So this evening we have 3 Maulanas, Maulana TASDEEQ, Maulana Abu Bakr, and a new guest on our program, the son of Maulana Abu Bakr, Abu RAHAM, and his expertise is Quranic recitation. So I'll introduce our 3 guests, and then I let the son, the young son of Maulana Abu Bakr, do some recitation for us. In fact, his father told me it is customary on any Islamic event to start with the recitation, and I'll be happy to hear that. Just in case you didn't know, I've been married to a Muslim woman for the past 46 years, and she belongs to a Muslim family. So maybe I'm not on unfamiliar territory. So without further ado, let's do the protocol. Thanks for being here once more. I do enjoy both of you when you were here the last time. You can certainly make your point very strenuously. Young man, Salaam alaikum.
Salam.
Please do what you have to do.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها المزمل قم الليل إلا قليلا نصفه أو انقص منه قليلا أو زد عليه ورتل القرآن ترتيلا إنا سنلقي عليك قولا ثقيلا إن ناشئة الليل هي أشد وطئا وأقوم قيلا إن لك في النهار سبحا طويلا واذكر اسم ربك وتبتل إليه تبتيلا رب المشرق والمغرب لا إله إلا هو فاتخذه وكيلا واصبر على ما يقولون واهجرهم هجرا جميلا وذرني والمكذبين أولي النعمة ومهلهم قليلا صدق الله العظيم.
Ahsan.
تقبل الله إن شاء الله.
Where did he get his training from? The Middle East?
He was trained by several teachers in several different institutions in Latin America, in Pakistan, in Trinidad, in Guyana. So he's been pursuing this for the last 8 years.
And does he perform at Islamic functions?
It's the issue of Quranic recitation is taken as an act of worship. So there's no such as a performance. It is done in earnest and passionately, and the zeal is for divine intervention. It is an act of prayer. And so it is done as an offering, and it is done because there's nothing that I could say or anyone could say, we believe as Muslims, that is better in its melody, in its wisdom, in its guidance than the words of God Almighty. And so it is customary to have these recitations in the beginning and sometimes even at the end and even during the programs to keep an anchor, so we stabilize and we keep focus by a constant reminder of the nature of the Holy Quran and its objectives. What he recited just now is actually one of the first verses revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, so peace be upon him. The Quran was revealed in stages over 23 years. With the initial stages, there's the famous initial verse of Iqra, which means to read, pursue knowledge, and all of that. But then this chapter was revealed, and it's called Surah Al-Muzammil, and then there's Al-Muddathir, and so on. And these chapters are the foundation for spiritual growth and development, to set the human compass, the foundations of morality, your spiritual foundations, waking at night and praying, and the instructions of all of that. That is the foundations that are being set in these verses.
Are there many like him in Guyana? Whose expertise is Quran?
A handful, a very small number.
But is he involved in teaching?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
He's actually just graduated last month, so he's back home now. From Trinidad as a MAULANA, and he finished his BSc and a host of diplomas and so on. So he's back home now to serve.
I'm wondering. I'm going to put my foot in my mouth here as I usually do. Did you influence him into this?
Of course. I have a natural bias towards Islamic spirituality. I mean.
So you sure the young man didn't want to study medicine? philosophy.
He grew up in this environment, in this atmosphere at home and at the masjid and at school and everything. He attended the Isa Islamic School, and so it is a whole nurturing process that took place over a long period. He's 24 years old now, so it's been 2 decades of influence, so to speak.
Don't tell me you have done that to the other kids.
But I have, of course. His younger brother is in the same field, and he has
Quranic recitation.
Quranic recitation and jurisprudence and law and Arabic language and history.
So he's going out to study soon.
So he's actually he has 2 years remaining, 3 years to complete his BSc in Islamic Studies.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's switch the topic to. And I guess we'll become more somber. As you could see, I'm wearing my Free Palestine T-shirt and my Palestinian scarf. Let's switch the subject to one of history's tragedy. Maulanas, that the war between Ukraine and Russia. Ukraine has just stepped into Russian territory. Ukraine has an army, an air force, and navy, and they're being supplied by the Western world. And they actually entered Russian territory. Since October, the Israelis have been bombing the Gazans, who do not have an air force, a navy, and ground forces. When we were at this table months ago, the death toll did not reach 30. Now the death toll is over 40,000. I start with alphabetically with you, Maulana Abu Bakr. Where is this thing going to end?
Okay, so in the name of God, all praise are for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We thank Allah Jalla wa ala for this opportunity to be able to be here in an area, subhanAllah, in a part of the world where you can speak out against this and without fear. Subhanallah, this is a great opportunity to be able to be here with you, and I thank you profoundly for this opportunity.
And thank you for coming on several occasions.
Well, thank you very much. And the situation really, as it is playing out right now in Palestine, it's no more an issue only of Gaza. It's also Gaza and East Jerusalem and the West Bank, where these genocidal attacks of the colonial settlers, apartheid, racist state is taking action with impunity. And the sad reality is that the Western governments are offering unquestioning support to this genocide. And so it's a skewed moral compass for the whole world. But more importantly, the issue is that the Western countries are actually paying for these bombs. What happened on Saturday when another school was bombed? And another, 100 people were killed. And the disfigurement of the bodies were so grotesque, with such morbidity, that you cannot identify people's body parts. And so they are gathering them and putting them in bags and weighing the bags. So, okay, there's a leg, and there's another leg, and there's an arm, there's another arm, there's a torso, there's a head, and they put it together. And if it comes up to about 70 kilos, then they conclude that this is a person. And so every 70 kilos is another person. So you can imagine.
We should issue a warning for those who are the faint-hearted to listen to what you're saying. I mean, I am a rough man without any scruples in what you're saying there.
Yeah, it's unimaginable. It's unimaginable. And that's not all. Two of the ordinances exploded and resulted in this massacre. A third is unexploded. It's an unexploded ordinance, and it's there on the roof. And it can detonate at will. Or it can be repurposed, or something else can happen, and if the building shifts or whatever. And so it's very, according to the United Nations Rapporteur, what's her name, Francesco Albanese, she said that, and she has said this in response to what happened on Saturday, which has been a continuous reality for the last 10 months, over 10 months now, is that they are committing genocide neighborhood by neighborhood, school by school. They're eradicating the Arab residents of Gaza, building by building. It is a systematic approach to total annihilation. And they're even on tape. They're on record. Bibi is on record saying we need to thin the population. and or push them into the sea. And so it is a very sad time in human history, and especially in the so-called modern age, to be able to live in a time when we have so much comfort and there's claim for security and world order and international law and so many things. Subhanallah, this is amazing that all of this is in play, and yet, Allahu Akbar, what is happening in Palestine is so shameful. And the governments are actually restraining populations. They are actually restraining their populations brutally, as we would have experienced right here on your show, what happened to one of our participants. And so it's a sad day in human history to be alive and to witness this level of immorality being imposed on the whole world. It is not just genocide, it is a skewing of human morality. It is a totally skewed, view of what human life is worth. I mean, you have it, Allahu Akbar. The situation in Palestine is recognized, is followed by hundreds of millions of people across the world. And yet, a personality of government like Anthony Blinken could ask for $1.5 billion worth in American-made bombs to be supplied to Israel in the situation, and still ask the Iranians to step back and negotiate with this one and with that one and contain these people, and actually restraining the entire world from taking action against an apartheid state. How is this possible in our day and age, in this day and age, that public figures, government figures, people of standing and authority and position are actually forcing the whole world to allow this to happen? What is happening here? The United Nations High Court, the Supreme Justice Institution of the world, the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, has issued a statement about genocide and the nature of apartheid and genocide by the Israeli government. And the United States spokesperson said, we don't agree with the position of the International Court of Justice. How is this possible? That the International Court of Justice in The Hague issues a statement of genocide against the Israeli government, and the American government says we don't agree. What is happening here? And how long is the world going to stand by and allow this to happen? And the more important part is that how do you feel? How do you feel? I mean, many of us are parents. I mean, we're parents, we have children. Imagine 20,000 children being killed. And if you were to listen or read The Lancet, that's a totally different conclusion. And The Lancet is a Western University produced document. And it's a journal, it's a periodical, and it has produced a different statistic from what the world powers are trying to impose on the world. 200,000 dead. That's what they're saying as a result of what is happening. 200,000. And maybe more, much, much more. So the level of starvation, genocide, ethnic cleansing, rape as a weapon of war, theft and robbery, destruction of private residences, the violations of international law, of humanitarian law. International law states very clearly that if you have occupied of land, if you are an occupying force in any land, you cannot evict its people. Neither can you transfer your population into that land. This is international law, and this has been happening since 1967. That's 60 years, going on 60 years. And this has been the situation, it started in 1948 and it continued, now you have virtually 1 million illegal residents in the Palestinian territory, and the whole world looks on, and you have resolution after resolution being passed against this intrusion, against the illegality of the entire question of settlements in the West Bank and other places. And nothing is being done. Nothing. Recently, Keir Starmer's new government has announced last week that we are going to reinstate the funding for UNRWA. I mean, this is, which was suspended months now. Without basis. Without basis. It was suspended. And it was not just England and, the major funders, the major financiers, sponsors of UNRWA have all withdrew their sponsorship.
Without an investigation.
Without substantiation. There is no evidence to the claims made by the apartheid government of Israel. So where are we really as the human race progresses in technology and in education and in comfort and in all kinds of entertainment? Where are we really as a moral people?
Before MAULANA TASDEEQ come in, I'd just like to tell our viewers, we announced it in one of our Friday programs. There is a Palestinian woman living in Guyana, and she's very outspoken about the genocide in Gaza. We had her as one of our guests. And she is a Palestinian woman born in Jordan. And she was speaking about growing up in Jordan and the nature of politics in Jordan. The Jordanian government contacted her, chastised her for her views on the program, and asked that we take the program off the internet. Obviously, we had to do that for the physical and mental security of this Palestinian woman. How did the Jordanian government got hold of this program, of this show? I would like to think, this is my opinion. I don't think any organization or any person sent that to the Jordanian government. I think it was an embassy that monitored these programs, and they sent the tape to the Jordanian government. That is so unfortunate. But let's bring in MAULANA TASDEEQ. What he is saying there, it really pierces your soul. Body parts being look what the world has come to. Look what we were brought up by these people, the Europeans, the Americans, to say, look, those Cubans, those Russians, those Chinese are bad people. Choose us. We are the good guys. I mean, while this thing was going on a few months ago, Biden made a speech to the United States people, and he said, without the United States, there would be no world order. There would be, but this doesn't make sense.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much for granting another opportunity. And what we need to understand is that it is not first time the colonial masters are doing this. And the history tells about the dozens of similar activities during the course of history they did. You read the history of Africa, you read the history of Cambodia, Vietnam, Philippines. Similarly, millions of people lost their lives. Recently on Iraq, bombing on Afghanistan, what they did to Libya. And it's continuously doing. What is the difference? And even in Palestine, they are doing it since 1948, and even a couple of years before they started already. But officially, they announced they started this genocide from 1948. What is the difference? Is today, because of the social media and the technology, they are committing this genocide live, and people are watching it live. That's the major difference. Many people, they read the books about the Philippines, and they read the books about the Cambodia and Vietnam and African countries, what they did. But most of the documents, they're in archives. Most of the people, they don't go and check and recheck it. But now, today, the generation, the whole world is watching live. And yet, we don't see much reaction. We don't see appropriate reaction. Yes, here and there people shout and people come out and they show the anger, but there is no remedy demonstrated so far. One side of the coin he mentioned, yes, we are losing so many lives, more than 40,000 lives, children, women. And the way they are carrying normally if you want to kill a bird, use the appropriate weapon. If you want to kill a bigger animal, use the appropriate weapon. If you want to destroy a big building, use a different weapon. But they are using big weapons to destroy a big building for a human being. It is something that even the weapon they're using is not appropriate. So this tells about their mindset and how brutal they are. This is the one side of the coin. The other side is the hypocrisy which was hidden, the Western hypocrisy which was hidden because of the media power they had. It's now exposing. The whole world is witnessing who they are. No matter how much you shout, your action shows who you are, not your words. You can say that we are the democratic country, but how you administering the country, it shows how democratic you are. No matter you say the human rights, where you are maintaining the human rights. Women's right, how you are maintaining it. Respect for the children, how you are maintaining it. So it's actions who speaks louder than your words. So you using the media power, that's fine, but media power has a limit. Now that limit has been expired. Look at the people in Europe, in America, in Australia, in Canada, right in their territories where you shout and you sponsoring people to kill the innocent people there in Palestine. Your people are against your governments, against your policies. And it tells a lot that what you're doing is wrong. And if you are democratic, if you claim that democracy has to be maintained, so listen to the people. The majority of the people coming out on the streets, every week, literally they're coming out. It's nothing to do with Islam here. Muslims coming out, Christians coming out, Hindus coming out, even Jews coming out, and they are talking against the apartheid regime in that region, in occupied Palestine. And what else you need to hear from the public? And that is what we need to open up the minds of the masses, yet they are sleeping. And what I want to mention here, the difference between the governments and the people. You talk about the Jordanian government now. Listen to the people of Jordan. Listen to the people of Egypt. Listen to the people of many governments who are unfortunately supporting. Being a Muslim country, they are supporting Israel, or at least they are not doing anything for the cause of the Palestinians, and even at least the cause of their own ethnicity of Arab. And listen to the public. Public are totally different, and if they allowed to come out and speak out, you will see the revolutions happens in that region. What I want to mention here, that the people, they are captured, the positions without their ability, without their any legal right. But they fear that if the Israel now became a cancer for humanity, literally cancer for humanity, if that surgery happened properly, the entire humanity will be safeguarded. And you will see the changes in the region, and how many governments will fall, and how many people will liberate their territories. And that's why, unfortunately, these those who are, they see their own interests. They don't see beyond their own interests. They don't see the truth, and they don't understand the rights of humanity. They are the one who look on their own interests. That's why they keep quiet, or they support Israel without exposing themselves. But people are now, because of the social media, everything is transparent now. And we have to thank, I think the whole world, the humanity should thank our brothers and sisters in Gaza, that despite of challenges they are facing, despite of casualties they are facing on a daily basis, they are liberating entire humanity, in fact. They are the victims, and they are achieving the martyrdom. The cause is to liberate humanity. I think the whole world, the entire humanity, should thank the brothers and sisters in Gaza, and whatever they can do to liberate humanity, they have to come out. Enough is enough.
Before the two issues we've got to discuss, and you two Maulanas will expound in that, and that is Arab reaction and whether there's going to be a war in Iran. I think most people who look at discussions on podcasts, social media, the intellectual discussion right now is there going to be a war in the Middle East? We'll come to that, but the young Maulana, I know your area is study of Islam, the jurisprudence, etc. You take an interest in what's going on in the Arab world. You take an interest in what's happening.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. It is, of course, the situation is a catastrophe, it's a calamity, it's a apocalyptic, cataclysmic thing that's affecting us all, in all ages, people of all types, regions, persons of different backgrounds, religious and otherwise. And it is a time that we find ourselves, we feel, and we have this emotion in us to do something. And with this, we seek to remedy the situation in the way of the Prophet. And as Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Ad-du'a mukhul ibad," that prayer and beseeching the Lord is from the essence of worship. And this is a time for us to reconnect ourselves, to see that what can happen to us in any part of the world, because this could have happened to us in Guyana, this could happen to us in any part of the world, because it's not just an attack on the Muslims in Gaza, it's not an attack on the Christians in Gaza, it's not just an attack on any person, but this is an attack on freedom. This is an attack on our human rights to live in freedom and be able to act as we wish. And with all of this, we understand, also taken from the life of the Prophet, is that he says that when a person sees something wrong, he should seek to change it by his hand. And if he's unable to do so, he should seek to change it by his tongue. And if he's still unable to do so, he should seek to change it in his heart. He should hate it. He should have disdain for it. So, and he continues to say that this is the weakest form of belief. That your belief is so weak that you only can hate it and you can't do anything. This shows how weak your belief is. Because if your belief was strong, then you would seek to speak out against it. And if your belief was even stronger, then you would do your utmost to change it by your hand. And we have our opportunity. First, we pray. And second, we take part in whatever activities they are that can have an effect. Whether it be taking part in the parades and those people who gather to reflect, those people who gather to speak out against such atrocities, and by taking part in the boycott of every single thing, every single company that seeks to foster and help this Israeli community in this situation by financing them and otherwise. And we can see that this has had an effect in the past months, that the stock prices from certain companies have dropped. We've seen that prices have dropped because of, we thank God for accepting our little effort that we have done, and it has had an effect that some of these companies have even stepped back their assistance of this genocide. And we hope and pray that we continue to do so, that this continues to have an effect. And even though we might not see a real effect now, we hope in coming months it will have an effect. Thank you very much.
MAULANA Abu Bakr, you know, Egypt, I knew about the civilization of Egypt when I was young, very young, before I ever dreamt of entering university. One of the great civilizations of the world, where mankind and womankind emerged from. What kind of humans are these people? Israel is 8,000 square miles with 9 million people, a speck on planet Earth. You have a great civilization like Egypt, and it's just a puppet? You would think that Egypt would have taken and said, no, enough is enough. Rafah is at the border with Egypt, yes. And the Israelis do what they want. They even go into Egypt.
Yes, they do.
That's
But no one is afraid of Israel. What is the world's reaction to the situation in Palestine is not because of the strength of Israel.
It's the United States.
It is because of their backing. The United States is the third largest country in the world by body mass. It is the most powerful country in the world. It has the military budget of the United States is equivalent. It's the half of the rest of the world. You know, the largest budgets of the world, and so the threat of violence is a real and present danger. The threat of force is real and present. What happened in Oman recently, when the United States in negotiations with Iran in Oman, has actually asked Iran to temper its response to what has happened. What happened in Iran, what happened in Beirut. And so the United States government is an active participation of what is happening. And yesterday, the Secretary of Defense Lloyd has asked the United States to send X, Y, and Z nuclear submarines and this and that into the Gulf and into the Mediterranean, into the region, to ensure that there is no military action by unsavory characteristics of an unsavory nature, So the situation is not that people are afraid of Israel. It's that the United States' full power and the full weight of the entire Western world governments are behind this. America supplies nearly 70% of all of the weapons, but the remaining 30% comes from where? It comes from Germany, it comes from France, it comes from Australia, it comes from England, it comes from Canada, it comes from the rest of the world. So there is a sort of a consortium here. So if you challenge that, you are actually challenging world powers. And these people, these nations, this elite of the world, this new world order has been fostering and advancing its agenda, not today, not the last 10 months, not since October 7th. They have been doing this for, since the American-Spanish War, the Spanish-American War in, 1799 and 1899 or whatever, for the last 200 years. So even Guyana, our airport in Guyana, we used to call it base. You would remember that.
Atkinson Base. Yeah.
Yes, Atkinson Base. That's an American military base. That the Americans were here, and they are here in more than one way, different forms. So this is an omnipresent military institution that has over 1,000 bases across the world, and they take what they want, when they want, how they want, in whatever way. The butcher of Latin America was sent to Iraq to oversee what was happening in Iraq. So
Who's that?
I wouldn't call names, but this is the thing. These people have a history of butchery.
I see what you mean. But I thought it was a head of state or something.
There wasn't a head of state.
No, I know what you mean.
Yes. Yeah. It wasn't a head of state, but he was there under the silent condonement of certain heads of state, not just one, but multiple heads of state. And what happened during the Gulf War, during the beginning of the war on terror in 2001, 2002, here in Cochabamba, this is crazy. The people in Gaza cannot dig their own well. You cannot dig your own well. You cannot get your own water in your own land. And this may sound strange to us in Guyana, because, we can go to the creek and we can go here, we can get our water, we can dig our own well. But in Trinidad, you cannot do that. You cannot get a license to dig a water well in Trinidad, because the water, whatever institution it is, they own the rights to all of the water. That's what happened in Cochabamba. These people own the rainwater that Morales came into power as a result of what happened, because of the massacres. Because this is a
Morales in Bolivia.
Yes. Yeah. He came to power as a result of what happened in Cochabamba. Bechtel is an international company that has subsidiaries, and one of their subsidiaries owned all of the water rights. And so even if you caught rainwater, you still had to pay a tax on that, and you still had to pay them for that. And the people rebelled because they were they were possessing your house. They would come and repossess your house and kick you out of your house if you owed water rates. the taxes on water. So it's a long history of controlling all of the resources in the world, and it happens under the radar all the time. Now it may sound strange that you can't get the license to dig a well in Gaza. You can't do it in Trinidad. And I don't know what's in store for us here in the land of many waters. But these entities, these companies, own everything in the world, and the governments are there. Work for them, and the international militaries are in support of these draconian, enterprises.
Maulana TASDEEQ, isn't it? Let's continue on the shamefulness of the Arab race. Well, not the Arab race, the Arab leaders. There was a coup in Niger, in Africa, and the Federation of African Countries, ECOWAS, said they are going to intervene. And 2 African countries or 3 African countries say, you intervene in Niger. I think the most no-nonsense approach was by Côte d'Ivoire, named Ivory Coast. Yeah. And Ivory Coast said, you intervene, and Africans will be fighting Africans in Niger. You know what Niger did? Niger is now, the Americans have a base there. The Americans said they're not leaving. Yeah. And Niger said, okay. And Niger invited the Russians to occupy the same base there. Yeah. You have this guy in Turkey. This guy is irritating. His name is Erdogan. This man says one thing one day, and you say, oh, look, now you're going to have some no-nonsense approach in Gaza. Then the next day, the next week, you don't hear from him. The Jordanian monarchy is treated like how can Arab countries?
Let me put it in a different perspective.
Shameful.
Maybe digesting these things, what I want to mention now is maybe difficult, maybe too early. I'm talking based on the facts. On 7th of October, the people who are in prison, literally, the attack on the biggest power supported by, biggest power in the region, supported by entire world. And they successfully carried on beyond their imagination. And in return, the apartheid regime said what? They have 2 ambitions. One, we are going to eliminate the Hamas, a small entity, a small group, and we will liberate our hostages. It's around 10 months. About 10 months, none of those they achieved. Against who? Against a small group. Of course, they have supports from Iran, they have supports from Hezbollah, from Lebanon, they have supports from Houthis in Yemen. That's a different issue. But compared to how much support Israel has, is nothing. Sometimes the narrative the media put forward, oh, they are so much strong, they have everything, they have this technology and that technology, nobody can resist. That's false. That is proven here that you are not Israel alone. The entire world with all that power and technology, they were not able to defeat a small entity. Yes, they lost more than 40,000 lives, but they moved on from the Gaza? No. You are able to eliminate Hamas? No. You are able to liberate your own 100 and something hostages? No. So it shows a different narrative is there. Meaning what? You should not accept the oppression based on the media portray. And that's how they win the war. That's how they win. They come with media, they come showing the weakness of opponent and the imaginary power of themselves. And unfortunately, those who don't have proper vision, they lose. Islam says in Quran, Qumu lillah, raise up for the God, for the sake of God, masna wa furada, even you are 2 or 1. Don't hesitate about the number of your supporters. Kam min fi'atin qalilatin ghalabat fi'atan kathiratan bi'idhnillah. There are many tiny groups they were able to defeat a larger groups with the permission of God. I think this narrative has forgotten from the some of the Muslim societies. Egypt definitely has a power. Egypt is allowing outsiders to infiltrate in the government, and they are, because the governments are listening to them, because they're for their own interests, they're not allowing people to come out. They all recently, they did the big revolution. They thrown out the monarchy of Mubarak, Hosni Mubarak.
Yeah, the Arab Spring.
Yes. So it can happen. Again, it can happen.
But it happened in Bangladesh.
Yes. Oh, see, the students in Bangladesh, they changed the entire scenario of Bangladesh. So there is a power. And now the Hezbollah, how much? They are a small group. They are not in the government. They're a small group. Yes, they are in the political party. They are in the parliament, but it's not that much large group. But they are the entire northern Israel is evacuated, and they are every day. Even today they had a big attack. So continuously look at on Houthis, the Ansarullah of Yemen. No, you have all the powers, all the technology. You can intercept any missile, or you can intercept any drone. A drone coming from Yemen and already went into Tel Aviv. Yeah. So sometimes we have to change the perspective. And because of that, unfortunately, many of the societies, the Muslim countries, they are losing. I think it is not only that. These, what you call puppets, these people, they have their own interest. If Israel lose this, we're hoping that, and it will happen one day, sooner or later, then these people will be exposed. What the Erdogan doing, how much money he earned out of the transaction after 7th October, he sent the ships after ships to Israel. He will be exposed. And still embassy of the Turkey is there in Tel Aviv, active. You come on stage and you talk something, and off the stage you do different thing. People will come to know one day. It will come out. And what the UAE is doing, what some of the other Arab countries are doing, it will come out. So it's not their interest to see the Israel defeated. It's very unfortunate, but people will come out one day. People have pain, and people are feeling it. They're waiting for, just like how the students in Bangladesh, they wait on the situation, and it will burst one day, and it will happen. And you see that already the Netanyahu want to escalate the war. He want to, because losing against a small group like Hamas is a big insult for entire these groups. Not only Israel, the NATO, the America. It's a humiliation for them. So they want something bigger, so at least they could say that, okay, we defeated because of these other countries. And they want to escalate this. And we don't know what the outcome of coming few days, but it seems that the time for treating a good lesson to Israel is very soon. And the Islamic countries, the Muslim countries, one by one, they have to come out, and especially the people, they should come out. And if the governments are not helping them, they have to change the governments. They have to change the regime, just like how the students in Bangladesh did, and they will get through. And definitely the power of the people in Muslim countries is much, much bigger than what people assume.
You want to say anything before we go back to your dad, your father? Is there anything you want to say before we go back to your father and look at Iran, landmass of 750 million and a population of 60 million as against 8,000 square miles for Israel and 9 million people. Now, any war between those two countries, I think an idiot will know who will win.
Absolutely. No, it's not a war between Israel and the other Muslim countries. It is a world war. It's going to be world war. Who is backing Israel? You will understand who is backing Israel. So a war against Israel is not only Israel. War against Israel is war against America, NATO, and some of the one Arab countries involved.
Okay, but here's my point. I think people talk about a war in the Middle East. I think the Americans are going to help Israel if Iran attacks in Israel. But the minute the American attack Iran, you see, if Iran bombs Israel and whatever it does, if the Americans intercept it and an American do whatever, it's a different story if the Americans attack Iran. If they do, I think we're into a world war. Why would China and Russia allow that? And why would China and Russia not use that war to serve their own global interests? So if the United States is in a war with Iran, why would China keep its hands to its side and not take over Taiwan?
No, but China, the Chinese military is in Kuwait. And they have been there from the very first month of this conflict. And they have a growing military presence in the region. And so if you look at what has been happening, we live in this part of the world, we've been fed this idea that the West is the best. And we grew up on
I think we grew up in a myth that Israel is a powerful military. All they're doing is, do you know all they're doing is bombing a whole helpless population?
Yes,
they're not fighting a war, so they're not learning anything from a war.
Shooting ducks in a barrel. It's shooting fish in the barrel. This is not a fighting force. And by the way,
I think Iran.
What is happening in Israel, apart from the loss of its labor force and the grounding to a halt of its economy, there is a massive exodus out of Israel.
But let's talk before time goes. We have 11 minutes more. Is Iran going to attack?
Let me answer this. It's because I know what is happening in the background.
Oh yeah, you're Iran trained,
no,
right?
Yes, I
you went
studied
to Iran
there.
a couple of months ago.
I studied there for 12 years. I know the Persian. I daily I follow the news. Iranian leadership is very wise. They know how to defeat Israel. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. If some of the Arab countries, they no need to support. If they just keep quiet and not support Israel, that's done. Iran is talking to all these countries to unify, to unite them, to convince them. Recently, the Jordanian foreign minister was in Iran. Iranian foreign minister was in Saudi with talking to all the Islam OIC countries. And they are doing their diplomacy. And what is important is Israel want to escalate the war. Why? Because it's their interest. Israel cannot run the war for long term. They are used to run hit and go. That's the only thing they have, the option they have. Now, if Iran able to make this escalate this war the same way, what now Hezbollah is attacking, the Houthis are attacking, and the Houthis are struggling economically. Ships cannot pass from there. Yes, if they accept for 1 or 2 years, it's collapse. The entire Israel and supporters will collapse.
It has
take
to
it
come.
from me.
It has
but
to
this is not a good interest for the Muslims, for the Iranians to escalate the war, because it's a favor goes to the Israel and its allies. So it's strategically they are planning everything, and it will happen. We have to have some sort of patience.
So you don't think they're going to attack?
They will attack. There is inevitable. They will attack. But how they attack? And they want to avoid escalation of the war.
It's a proxy war right now. You have a sound war going on. This is a proxy war, and it's going on, and it's been going on for before October 7th. America literally stole Iranian oil, seized one of the Iranian ships in the Straits of Gibraltar, took it to Texas and emptied it.
And they captured their American ship. This is something unprecedented from the World War II. Who attacked the American base? Not the Russia, not the China, none. Iran attacked the base in Iraq after assassination of the Qasem Soleimani. So they don't play with this dignity. Because see, the teaching comes from where? From Karbala. The Yahya Sinwar, who is the head of the Hamas now, he mentioned beautifully. He said, "What if it escalates, go beyond this? We just die like what happened in Karbala. Imam Hussein died. It's okay, fine. We died with dignity. We don't surrender. Right? So if you kill one, they will find another one. no matter how many you kill, they will find another one, third one, fourth one, fifth one. This is the teachings.
So
that's why you see the Gaza, you bomb them and they say, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. This is the word you repeatedly listen. Allah is enough for us. He is the best caretaker. So you just go and
you are attacking the people of faith.
The Israelis, they're coming out, they attack
the people will not lose their faith. That is a major aspect here. But why we are talking so much from a global perspective of what is happening is that the Western powers are supporting not just an apartheid state, an unjust state, an immoral state, but this is a microcosm of what is happening all across the world. The complete ownership of everything, and if you threaten that power, you will be, you will be faced with danger and force. What is happening, and what has happened, what is continuously happening right now in front of all of us, this horrible, horrible state of affairs in Gaza and in the West Bank. I mean, 4 people killed yesterday, youngsters. And they're just, you have a prison of 500 women, many of them underage, stripped, sexually abused. Everybody knows. Imagine a youngster comes out of prison and he looks normal or she looks normal, but a steel rod violated her being to such an extent that within hours of leaving.
MAULANA.
No, this I'm the nature of this talk.
I go up very roughly.
Yeah.
But
and it pierced her diaphragm.
That is hard to take.
Burst her liver, and she dies because internally she's bleeding and she's drowning, and her lungs have been ruptured. They do that. This is not 1. This is not 2. This is not 10. This is not 15. This is the situation. Rape and the worst forms of torture and murder.
And they openly are admitting it.
And they're proud
this
about
is the form of punishment. They say they openly mention it. They don't have any shame.
What we are seeing here, if this is not stopped, if we cannot put draw a line now. We don't know what the
world will be in danger.
The whole world. These draconian laws that are in place across the world. Israel is actually, the situation that is happening there is a microcosm of what can happen to the whole world. We were all fooled into thinking that, the Western world order is the best, but it's not.
But it hasn't this exposed it?
It
and
has.
damaged it
That is the point. That is the point.
I mean, I could never have that respect
anymore.
The intellectuals in London.
I could never support them in front of China anymore.
No, you can't.
No, intellectuals in London, in big cities in Europe and America, they're not fooled. They're coming out. They feel the danger of this entity. And if you're not stopping there, tomorrow you have to fight in London. Tomorrow you have to fight in New York. Tomorrow to fight in Washington, D.C. It will happen.
Let me ask the two of you something.
The Arab world is very disturbed. The Arab world is in a state of unrest. As a matter of fact, the whole world is in a state of unrest right now. If you look at the protests across the world, all the big cities.
The leadership was scared. They went and intimidated that young lady in Guyana.
Imagine that.
Security contacted her. The woman was scared.
So now the matter what is happening in Gaza is not limited to Gaza.
Her family will suffer. The threat would be that her family is threatened. Because she's out here. So now it's going to happen. So the threat of force is so real in the Arab world, in the Muslim world, that it's scary. It's scary, really. The population. Imagine. Tens of thousands of people gathering in front of the presidential palace and in front of the parliament and all of in the Arab world, shouting words of khawana. Khawana means traitors. Traitors. They're calling them traitors. This is happening almost on a daily basis in Jordan and in other parts of the Arab world. But the leadership, the political leadership, is so removed from reality. Keir Starmer, he came into power as a result of whatever happened over there, but his policy has taken 180 degrees turn. last week, his people announced that we are going to refinance UNRWA. He announced that we are not going to stymie the position of the International Court of Justice. He announced that we will put a check on the supplying of British armaments and ordnances to Israel. So this because
his foreign minister is of Guyanese parentage.
Yeah, isn't that something? Yeah, but so.
And that's why they're disturbing in London. That's what I said. What disturbance in the UK now?
Yeah.
These entities, they are creating problems there, havoc there. And using the false rumors that the one who murdered 3 girls was not a Muslim and not an immigrant. And they just spread the rumors and they are creating chaos there. And because of the same thing. So they don't want these things happen.
Popular support around the world is going to force the world of polity to take a more realistic approach on the situation.
But what I wanted to ask the two of you quickly, since our operator say 1 minute more to go. If Iran attacks and United States...
But Iran has attacked Israel. 350 missiles.
I mean a huge confrontation. And America gets in and attack Iran. Don't you think the Russians and the Chinese will do their thing around the world? The Americans engaged in a war.
Iraq happened. Afghanistan happened. Libya happened. Somalia happened. They thought it was going to happen in Syria as well. What is it that kept the Syrian government in place? Bashar al-Assad's government stayed. How? It is because of the support from Russia. Russia and Iran stepped in. So the kind of unlimited access that the United States and the Western powers had, NATO had, and the influence, the sphere of influence they had enjoyed is no more the reality.
We gotta go. We are 2 minutes over time. Let's have the last word from the young MAULANA, and we're gonna wrap up. You want to say anything? We've gone a minute over time. What you plan to do with your life vis-a-vis Islam, vis-a-vis what's happening in Gaza?
Well, we all look for a chance to serve in any way, shape, or form. We pray that we have a chance to serve so that we may be of service and we may have purpose. Because when you lose purpose and you lose your sense of purpose, there is no reason to live. So if we find and if we are able to achieve our purpose by serving, then we hope that Almighty God might accept us.
It is always a pleasure hearing the two of you and your forthright analysis. It's really enthralling intellectually speaking to you guys.
A pleasure.
MAULANA, wish you the best in your long career to come. If you're 24, you have about 70 more years.
God willing, by the grace of God. Inshallah.
Thanks for looking at us. You were watching three MAULANAs. MAULANA TASDEEQ, MAULANA Abu Bakr, and MAULANA Abu Bakr's son, RAHAM. His special field is Quranic recitation, Islamic jurisprudence. Our topic was the continuing committal of genocide by the Israeli government, and there were other intellectual dimensions of the program. Our panelists look at the role of the West and United States in supporting what is going on in Israel. We will keep the fire of Palestine burning in our discussion. This is not the last. This is perhaps the 6th program or 7th program, and there will be many more. What is happening in Palestine is unbelievable in the history of the world. We will see you on our call-in program on Friday. Take care, and I normally say bye-bye. How do you say bye-bye in Arabic or in Islam?
Ma'as-salam. Ma'as-salam.
Let me get, I think one of you told me that. Ma'as-salam. Ma'as-salam. Ma'as-salam.